Hello everyone and welcome back to Deck Tech Tuesday. In this series, I showcase a random deck from a random format of my choosing and try to explain the inner workings of the deck. This week, we're moving back to Pauper and we're looking at quite the aggro deck. We're going to be taking a look into White Weenie. So, what is White Weenie? Well, traditionally the deck came from old alpha and beta cards like Savannah Lions, and the idea was to play cheap and efficient white creatures while backing that up with removal. And for the most part, that's exactly what our deck is trying to do. We've got 15 1-drop creatures and 15 2-drop creatures to keep a lot of pressure on our opponents throughout the game, and we've also got quite a few tricks up our sleeves. To start off the deck, we'll begin with War Falcon. Personally, I've always liked this card since it came out in M13. Having a 2-1 flyer for 1 mana is sweet, but it does have a drawback, that being that we need soldiers or knights to have it attack. Luckily, since we're playing mono white, we already have access to a plethora of soldier type creatures. Speaking of soldier creature types, our next card is Elite Vanguard. This card is virtually the exact same as Savannah Lions, that being a 2-1 for 1 mana, save for having a different name. And thankfully this card was shifted down in rarity from an uncommon to a common in Eternal Masters, which definitely helped to improve this archetype for Pauper. Our next creature is Thraben Inspector, and I already know what you're saying. Yo, Tasty, how many decks are you gonna shove Thraben Inspector in? And my response being,
every deck. I love Thraben Inspector. You can't deny our love. We're going to run away together, and nobody can stop us.
But real talk, Thraben Inspector is a no-brainer for the deck. It has a big butt, can be played turn 1, and it generates card advantage for us. Not only that, but it's a soldier, which means that it lets our War Falcon attack. So yeah, of course we're gonna jam 4 copies of this card in here. Why wouldn't we? Our final 1-drop is Acacian Javeliniers. While being a 1-1 for 1 is mediocre, it has this interesting ability where it pings a creature or our opponent for 1 point of damage. As such, this card has a lot of subtle power to it. It can kill Unflipped Delvers, Querying Ranger, Vault Scourge, shoot a creature dead after combat, or shoot our opponent in the face for lethal. So this card has a surprising amount of flexibility, and it's also another soldier for. Starting off with our 2-drops, we begin with Safehold Elite. Now, being a grizzly bear is fine and all, but it isn't really that playable in Pauper. But it has Persist, meaning we can either be really greedy with attacks, or we can be conservative with our blocking. Again, the flexibility is key here. Having 2 creatures for 1 card is not just advantageous, but it's also just efficient. Speaking of efficient, we have another card similar to Safehold Elite, and that's Loyal Cathar. Now, yes, while it is technically more mana intensive in our mono-color deck, it makes up for that by having Vigilance. Not enough? How about when it dies, it comes back flipped over as a 2-1? Now, granted, the 2-1 side can't block, but you can't argue with those stats. Having 4 power crammed into 1 creature with Vigilance is fantastic. Not only that, but both sides are a soldier creature type, meaning that it helps with. Oh my god, the joke is dead, dude. Stop it, just go away. For our next creature, we have a 3 of Veteran Armorer. To be honest, I was pretty apprehensive about this card. Having a creature buff toughness just really didn't appeal to me, but after playing with it, I'd say that this guy is pretty crucial to the deck. Not only does a toughness boost make combat a pain for our opponents to deal with, but if we get multiples on the field, it can become overwhelming very quickly. Also, it has the benefit of being a soldier, so again, Jesus man, I said go away! Anyways, moving on to our last 2-drop, we have the one, the only, Squadron. Are you done? Did you get it all out of your system? Like I said, our last 2-drop is Squadron Hawk. The namesake card of the old Cawblade archetype, this card still manages to perform decently without the need of swords. Instead, we'll just throw some bone splinters on one and call it good. But for real, getting 3 birds for the price of 1 is fantastic. Now, while we still have to cast those cards, having card advantage in the form of an evasive flyer is invaluable to our strategy. Moving on to our final creature, we have Guardian of the Guild Pact. Now, normally I did have this guy in my sideboard, but I constantly just kept bringing him in every single game too, so I just decided to put him in the main deck. Having protection from monocolor is actually much better than you would think in Pauper. It pretty much coasts by almost every deck. Monocolored aggro decks like Delver, Elves, Goblin, or Stompy?
Nope.
What about decks heavy with removal like Blue-Black Control or Kodotha Boros?
No.
Well, what about artifact creatures, Ulamog's Crusher, or Agony Warp?
No.
Okay, well, regardless of decks like that, this guy pretty much avoids 70% of the field. Not only that, but having a stocky 2-3 body ain't really that bad. Moving on to our non-creature spells, we start off with Sunlance. At being 1 mana, this is the closest thing we can get to Lightning Bolt for our deck. Now, while it is sorcery speed and can only hit non-white creatures, it is an efficient form of removal for a deck like this. And for being a common, this isn't really that bad. And for our other removal spell, we have Journey to Nowhere. A decent 2-mana enchantment that temporarily deals with a threat, this card, in conjunction with Sunlance, helps to clear the path for our beaters. Now, while it does have the drawback of not being able to permanently deal with a threat, enchantment removal isn't too much of an issue in the metagame currently. And besides, if our opponent wants to sideboard in cards just to deal with it, then I'm perfectly fine with that. Moving on to our artifact spells, we start off with a pair of Bone Splitter. So, for essentially 2+ mana, we can buff our 1/1s into viable threats. And since it's so mana efficient, we can just throw it around on whichever creature we want to without having to waste our mana for the turn. Not only that, but we have 11 creatures with evasion in the deck, so giving them a boost in power definitely helps us with closing out the game. And for our final spell in the deck, we have a pair of the Pain Train itself, Renegade Freighter. Again, a card that not a lot of people really expect, and as such, we can take advantage of that with a beefcake like this. Since vehicles can be creatures on demand, it can dodge most conventional forms of sorcery speed removal, meaning that a card like this can pretty much put wins in the bag for us, considering that the only real good ways of dealing with something like this would be stuff like Lightning Bolt, Doomblade, Victim of Night, Galvanic Blast, and Grasp of Darkness. And not only that, but we can use its crew ability on creatures with summoning sickness, so it can help set up good blocking situations if need be. As far as our lands go, all we have is 17 basic planes. Now, while 17 lands in a deck with a couple 3 and 4 drops doesn't seem like a good idea, 43 of our 58 spells cost 2 or less mana, so we can definitely be greedy with our land base. Starting off with our sideboard, we finish off our playset of Sunlands. We pretty much bring this in against any non-white based aggro decks like Delver, Elves, Stompy, Mono Black, or Goblins. For our next card, we have Relic of Progenitus. As a form of graveyard manipulation with card draw built in, we bring this in against any Dredge or Tortured Existence based decks, and not to mention blue-black control decks based off either Gurmag Angler or Mystical Teachings. Moving on to the next card, we have a 2 of Oblivion Ring, which pretty much takes care of any non-land permanent that is giving us a hard time. So decks that we need that extra removal against is stuff like Tron and Ulamog's Crusher Reanimator decks. And since it can hit stuff besides creatures, we can hit stuff like our opponent's Journey to Nowheres, some random enchantments that are on hexproof creatures, or even vehicles like Renegade Freighter. As far as artifact removal is concerned, we're utilizing Dust to Dust. The fact that this card exiles instead of destroying automatically makes it much more playable over something like Disenchant. Not only that, but being able to get 2 things at once makes this card so much more playable. Now, while we have artifact removal, what about enchantments? How do we deal with decks like Bogles? Well, luckily, we're also playing Patrician Scorn in here. At 4 mana, it's an enchantment board wipe, which automatically makes it amazing against a deck like Bogles. And not only that, but if we cast a white spell beforehand, we can cast Patrician Scorn for free. Talk about value, dude. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And for the final card of our deck, we finish it off with an interesting one. Holy Light is a 3 mana kill all your opponent's elves. Holy Light is a 3 mana kill all of your opponent's fairies. Holy Light is a 3 mana kill all of your opponent's goblins. Holy Light is a 3 mana kill all of your opponent's white-based tokens. This card pretty much hoses any type of strategy trying to go wide, while avoiding our creatures in the process. Not only that, but we can use it in the second main phase to help clear out stuff that has enough damage marked on it to where Holy Light would be able to kill them. Not too bad if I do say so myself. And that's the deck tech for you, everyone. Leave a comment down in the comment section down below and let me know what you think. Throw a like my way, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and all that jazz. I've been Tasty Snackies, you have all been wonderful, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.